Dontaesboxingnation, what's going on, guys? So it looks like old Bobby is at it again, huh? It was just recently reported a couple days ago that Bob Arum, he basically said if Pacquiao should get past Brandon Rios relatively easy in a convincing fashion, that we have a good chance of seeing Pacquiao versus Mayweather, possibly even next. Now, you guys know the problem with this story is we've heard this same fucking story or this same song over and over again, right? Isn't it amazing how things came around full circle to bite Bob Arum and Manny Pacquiao right in the ass? I mean, it's unbelievable when you really think about it. Go back 3 years ago, okay? And I'm going to go even further than that, maybe a little over 3 years ago. Go all the way back to when Floyd Sr. was training Ricky Hatton, all right? Training Ricky Hatton to fight against Manny Pacquiao. Now, after Manny Pacquiao completely knocked out Ricky Hatton, Floyd Sr., he said before the fight was even talked about, Floyd Sr. said, he started saying in articles, I think that this dude is on something. So when Floyd Sr. talks to his son, and there's even any light talks about Mayweather possibly fighting Pacquiao, Sr., he tells his son, he's like, look, if you're going to fight this guy, make sure you have him tested because I think this dude is on something. You guys have to understand this because Floyd Mayweather Jr., he had no intentions of having Manny Pacquiao tested until his father told him to. You guys have to understand every single thing that Floyd Mayweather Jr., he learned it from his father. All right? It was his father who was telling Floyd Mayweather in like the third and the fourth round of the Diego Corrales fight that, you know, you keep doing what you're doing and about 7, 8, 9, 10, this fighter, he'll be ready to go. Talking about Diego Corrales. All right? Floyd Mayweather Jr. is where he is because of his father. So if his father is telling him something, his father is probably right. He might not always be right, but probably 9 times or 8 times out of 10, he's probably going to be right, okay? And just like he was right about the Diego Corrales situation, it turns out Floyd Sr. was right about this performance enhancement drug situation, okay? Because like I said, 3 years ago, he told Floyd Mayweather, he said, just have him tested. Now, understand something. When you naturally ask someone to test or take a test, like I said, if it's at a job, if it's for a fight, etc., you don't expect that person to say, oh, no. I'm not taking the test. I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to. You don't expect people to respond that way. You expect them to say, okay, whatever, I'll take the goddamn test. You know, whatever it takes to prove, you know, whatever this and this and that. That's what you expect. You don't expect someone to turn it down. There are far more easier ways to avoid an opponent that you don't want to fight. The easiest way to do it is you don't do anything. You don't negotiate with them. You don't offer them 50-50 split on the money. You don't do any of that. You just completely ignore them. And then when you get pressed on the question why you're not fighting the guy, then you make up your little excuses. But even when you make your excuses, you don't sit down and negotiate or have your guy talk to his guy. That's not part of ducking. That's trying to make a fight when you're negotiating, right? So anyway, Manny Pacquiao and Team Pacquiao and even Bob Arum, I believe they were all caught off guard when Floyd Mayweather presented a random drug test. It was the first time in history it had ever been done. That's right. Floyd Mayweather is the pioneer of random drug testing. No matter what you hear biased ass Jim Lampley or any other biased casual fan say, this is the very first man that has ever done it. Okay? Do you guys know who invented the very first gun that was ever used before? It was China. But you know who perfected it? America perfected it. But guess what? Without no invention, there would be no perfection. You understand what I'm saying? It was Floyd Mayweather. If Floyd Mayweather wouldn't have had that big situation with Manny Pacquiao, there would be no one taking random drug testing. There would be no one failing random drug testing today. When Manny Pacquiao refused to take that random drug test over 3 years ago, that raised a lot of eyebrows in the boxing world. And when I say a lot of eyebrows, I'm talking about other boxers, other trainers, not just the fans. And realistically, even the Pacquiao fans, they were stunned and they were shocked. But by nature, they had to defend their guy. So that's when they started to, send all the ridiculous messages and all the ridiculous rhetoric on blogs and etc. They knew that it was shocking and stunning, but they had to defend him. All right? Like I said, when Floyd Mayweather Sr., when he first came out with that first article that I read, like I said, this was a long time ago, before there was any talks of Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Okay? I remember it like it was yesterday. I was checking the boxing news, and the headline was, Mayweather thinks that Pacquiao is on something. Mayweather Sr., that is, thinks that Pacquiao's on something. Soon as I looked at that headline, I just shook my head and went to the next story. I didn't even open it up. I didn't even want to read it because I thought that was the most ridiculous thing that I had ever heard, right? But soon as negotiations took place with Mayweather versus Pacquiao and Team Pacquiao rejected the random drug test, that's when I was like, oh, Senior was on to something. Senior, he may have knew what he was talking about. And this is how a lot of other people perceived it. This is how the majority of everyone perceived it. Regardless if they want to admit it or not, this is how they perceived it. You don't believe me? Even the most biased man in the boxing industry right now, Jim Lampley, started to think that his favorite fighter just might be doping. And we know this to be true because Jim Lampley, he went on a radio station and he did an interview where he was basically defending people possibly taking performance enhancement drugs. Jim Lampley basically used some silly-ass analogy, basically saying if an opera singer used some type of solution to gargle with before she sings, does that make her a better singer? And his answer was like, no, she was a good singer before she gargled something. So his point was there's nothing wrong with taking performance enhancement drugs. And I told you guys before, Larry Merchant, he also did an interview and he said, I don't even believe that performance enhancement drugs makes you better. There's been a lot of people, a lot of fighters that took drugs and they weren't as good as Manny Pacquiao. So these people, they were basically condoning people using performance enhancement drugs. But soon as fighters start getting busted left and right for failing performance enhancement testing, that's when Jim realized that he might be on the opposite or the wrong side of history. And then all of a sudden, he had to change his way of thinking. And now all of a sudden, you have other people following what Floyd Mayweather pioneered, like Nonito Donaire, like the most recent case, Manny Pacquiao versus Brandon Rios. So now what Jim Lampley wants to do is he wants to give the credit to fighters like Nonito Donaire for pioneering performance enhancement drugs when he was against the shit before. You guys know how ridiculous that is? Before, he was defending people for taking the shit. Now he's trying to give anyone but Floyd Mayweather the credit for cleaning up the sport. This man is a fucking comedian and not a funny one. You get it, guys? So, anyway, man, back to this Bob Arum situation. Like I said, shit comes around in a full circle. And it bit all of them in the ass. And when I say all of them, I'm talking about Lampley, Arum, Manny Pacquiao. Do you remember all of the excuses they made why they weren't going to take the test? Talking about Floyd Mayweather was just, he thought he was the sport. He thought he was the whole sport, and we're going to only do what Nevada is asking for us to do. All of a sudden, Manny Pacquiao gets knocked the fuck out by a guy that he suspects may be taking fucking steroids, juice, PEDs, whatever you want to call it. That's called karma, man. That's called karma. He didn't do the right thing 3 years ago, and the shit came back to bite him in the ass. Okay? So anyway, man, back to what silly-ass Bobby is talking about. So, Bobby, he's talking about the fight can possibly happen. Like I said, we heard that shit before. We heard him make excuses when Floyd Mayweather wanted to make the fight before he had to do some jail time. And, of course, we already know the story. That's when Bob Arum, he said, Floyd Mayweather is going to jail in June. And coincidentally, I'm making a, arena that's going to hold 100,000 seats in Las Vegas. But guess what? The arena, it won't be ready until Floyd Mayweather is coincidentally unavailable. And guys, there was actually articles out where Top Rank had sent a memo out saying, we are not interested in a Mayweather fight at this time. So it's very hard to take this man's word. I mean, this is probably one of the most dishonest people in the history of boxing. Bob Arum, that is. All right. So, we've heard all the rumors that, Manny Pacquiao, he may never fight in the States again, et cetera, et cetera. But I have to tell you something. This may be surprising to some of you guys, but I truly believe that this fight is close to being done. I think that Bob Arum is finally starting to think that maybe Pacquiao is close to the end, which he's not close to the end, but a dumb person like Bob Arum would probably think that. So he's going to try to probably cash out before someone upsets Manny Pacquiao again. I mean, if Bob has any common sense, it would just seem that it would make more sense that if Manny Pacquiao is going to lose to anyone else, it should be to Floyd Mayweather. Like I told you guys a long time ago, Bob Arum is not the smartest, but he's also not the dumbest. Okay? Bob Arum, he does know that Mayweather, he knew from day one that Mayweather was going to beat Manny Pacquiao. If you go all the way back to some of the oldest videos, there are press conferences where Bob Arum was calling Floyd Mayweather the greatest fighter since Muhammad Ali. Okay, you guys can find those videos on YouTube right now. All right, so we already know that Bob Arum, he already knew that Floyd was going to beat Manny Pacquiao. He just tried to make that shit last for as long as he could when it came to Manny Pacquiao looking unbeatable. When it came to Manny Pacquiao looking like, he's the only person that could beat Floyd Mayweather. Bob Arum knew all along that wasn't true. That's why I was really surprised when Bob Arum made a very honest revelation when he admitted that he purposely kept Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. away from Sergio Martinez because he knew that Sergio Martinez would probably beat Chavez. He admitted that. And it was funny because it was almost like it was a relief for him to finally admit it because he was saying it with all smiles, like it was just all fun and games, like whoo, I am happy to get this shit off my chest. I wanted to get this confession off my chest. That's the same thing that he was doing with Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather. It's the same thing, guys. But old Bobby, he ain't going to admit that one, at least no time soon. Maybe he'll admit it right before he kicks the bucket, but it ain't going to be no time soon. So you just never know when it comes to Bob Arum. We really can't go off of his word. I mean, hell, we're better off just going off of listening to Manny Pacquiao. One thing I look at as a positive is, you got Tim Bradley basically saying a Bradley Mayweather fight may never happen as long as he's with Top Rank. But even though he says that, you got Bob Arum and Manny Pacquiao on the other side. They're saying that a Mayweather-Pacquiao fight may be next, and they're with Top Rank as well. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that sounds like a positive. It sounds like a little bit of progression to where this fight may actually take place very, very soon. So let's hope that Manny Pacquiao puts on a great performance and we finally get the fight of the decade, because that's what it will be. It will be the fight of the decade. And trust me when I tell you, this fight will still be just as big as it would have been 3 years ago. It'll be bigger than the Canelo Alvarez fight, and it will break the De La Hoya record, in my opinion. When I read my comments on a lot of my Manny Pacquiao Mayweather type videos, there's still a lot of people who actually believe that Manny Pacquiao is Floyd Mayweather's hardest fight. So anyway, guys, I'm out of time. I'll catch up with you. I'm on to the next one.